It's the sport of kings, better than diamond rings. Football,
Wildcats,
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 football.
Welcome to the Married with Picks podcast, season 2, episode 12, week 10. So before we get started, remember we're available anywhere you get your podcasts. Like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. All right, so quick recap of last week. So overall, Steve, you were 6-4. I was 6-5. You were actually on the Broncos. We were both on the Bills. I think everybody was on the Bills. And yeah, so not great, but it was, they said this was like the last week was the week that Vegas made the most money in like, I forget how long.
I had Tennessee. Cincinnati
We
got
both
me.
had Tennessee too. Yeah, we were both on Cincinnati. Yeah. And, I think I didn't go back and look specifically, but I think we did bet between us.
Buffalo was a train wreck.
Yeah, that was terrible. Between us was the Giants Raiders. So you won again.
Yeah. I had the Giants.
Yeah, so you're up
Outright.
to something. I don't know. Overall, you're up 2.
I think I'm up 3, but we'll go back.
We'll have to go back and look. I probably have the sticky here from last week somewhere. We'll check it later. All right, so moving on to week 10. We have 4 teams on bye this week. The Bears, Bengals, Texans, Giants. So first game on the list is Jacksonville at Indianapolis. This is a division game. Obviously, the Jags got a victory last week over the Bills, but the score was 9-6. Since their bye week, they have only put up 7 and 9 points in a game. So their defense came up big for them last week. The offense hasn't really shown up. I think the Colts are playing better offense, defense a little less so. So maybe Jacksonville can put up some points in this one. The line opened at -10. It's ticked up a bit to -10.5. I think the Colts win this game, but I'm not sure I want to take them at 10.
The Jags are 2-6. Their 2 wins came at home, so they're 0-3 away. I really lean towards the Colts on this. I think Colts are coming together. We're hitting November now, where Indianapolis has kind of sputtered in the beginning, have shown signs that Carson Wentz is getting healthier. This looks like a bottom of the barrel team in Jacksonville coming into Indianapolis, who's just trying to get enough momentum here to catch Tennessee if Tennessee happens to sputter without Derrick Henry. So I like Indianapolis to roll here.
All right. Next game up is Cleveland at New England. It opened at -3 in favor of New England. It's at -2.5 currently. So this one is interesting to me, Belichick versus Baker Mayfield. We've seen Belichick have success against the rookie quarterbacks. He had some success against Justin Herbert, even though he's in a second year now. I went back and looked it up, and these teams have only played once in recent history, and that was in 2019. That was when the Patriots still had Brady. They won that game 27-13, but that was also the Hugh Jackson Browns. So I don't know how much credit we can put into that. We have Nick.
I remember that game because Nick Chubb was the only offense that was happening in that game. And he broke one for like 60, 70 yards down to like inside the 10 and fumbled the ball. And New England picked the ball up. So they were actually driving. And I remember that was kind of like it was Baker Mayfield's like one of his first big games. But no Chubb this week.
Yeah, Chubb is out. Both the running backs for the Patriots are questionable, Harris and Stevenson, with concussions. So I don't know. To me, I think I want to lean like Belichick's probably usually tries to take away the one thing that the other team does well. So I figured he would probably try to stop the run. And make Baker Mayfield beat him. So to that extent, I like New England in this. The one thing that worries me is, did you see the incident with Mac Jones last week?
Yeah.
Where he grabbed the ankle?
Yeah.
So I kind of worry that like the defensive lineman from Cleveland may kind of, I don't know, have a bone to pick with him about that. So that kind of worries me that they're going to kind of come after him a little more in this game than they would have otherwise. So I don't think it's going to be a pick for me, but I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm struggling on this game. They're really going back and forth. And I think that the fact that Nick Chubb is not playing, I like Ernest Johnson. He's a good running back. But like you said, with Bill Belichick's defense, the line right now, it opened at 3 and is down to 2.5. We'll have to see what it is at kickoff, but this is a difficult game to pick. I want to go against New England here. It smells like a Cleveland win, but regardless, I would probably look to play the under in a game like this at 45. You're looking at like a 19-13 score, something close. But, I want to take Cleveland here, but it's scary going against Belichick at home. So
yeah,
it's a no play for me.
Yeah, their record's pretty good at home this year. So, all right. Next game up is Atlanta at Dallas. So obviously Dallas put up the clunker last week. They're still favored by 9.5 in this one against Atlanta. Atlanta seems to be playing better of late. So I think these teams played last year, and I forgot to go back and look this up, but I think it was a pretty high scoring game, and I think Dallas won by a point.
Was this a game they gave away?
Yeah.
Atlanta gave away at the very end. Like they had a series of games that they were kind of like blowing at the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah. The other thing is that Dan Quinn, who was the former head coach of the Falcons, is now the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. And I don't know who gets the advantage on that. Like, is it Dan Quinn knows Matt Ryan very well, or is it Matt Ryan knows Dan Quinn very well? Any thoughts on that?
I would think that the advantage would be to Matt Ryan because he would see that defensive look a lot in practice.
Yeah.
So I would think that's where the advantage would come in. I think the advantage on paper and on the field is Micah Parsons, and Dan Quinn has him. So he's been turning it up. I think the bottom line here is you can argue back and forth who's going to win this game. I think the game, that should be the discussion. Who's going to win this game? But the line is 9.5. I feel like Dallas is going to win, but I can see a path to victory for Atlanta, which tells me 9 points is too much. So I'm taking Atlanta.
I definitely think, it's too big of a line. And I don't know that I ever pick Atlanta, at least not recently.
No, and listen, this is the reason why the line's 9. Dak just came back last week. They got beat, but he was coming off the injury and looked kind of like he was sluggish getting back off the bench. You would expect him to make a lot of progress this week, feeling a little stronger, feeling a little healthier, and being more up to speed up to the pace of play on the field. But so I think that's why the line's 9.5. I just think it's too much. Dallas is not that good. Atlanta's starting to play better. It's Matt Ryan. Like you said, Matt Ryan's played that defense a lot in his career during practice, during training camp. This
over-under has gone up 4 points from 50.5 to 54.5. So that's a big jump. So, to an extent, that indicates a shootout. Now, if it's going to be a
seems like a game that's going to be played in the 30s.
Well, yeah, if it's going to be a shootout, then, that's how you take the points, right?
Yeah.
So, all right.
Atlanta to the over.
We're both on Atlanta there. All right. Next game up is Buffalo at the New York Jets. Open at -13.5 in favor of Buffalo. It's down to -12.5. This is a division game. Obviously, I don't know what Buffalo did last week.
They lost.
I know, but how?
Jacksonville.
How did they lose? 9-6. Like when you're seeing the score.
That Jacksonville defense is coming together.
Well, I don't know if it's that. But when you see the score and it's, fourth quarter, it's 9-6, and you're thinking like they're going to score a touchdown and win, and it didn't happen. Like that's how it ended. So I don't know. I saw like a report where one of the Jaguars defensive players commented about the lack of energy on the Buffalo sideline. So I almost feel like that's how it happened. Like the Jags saw this and like thought that they can.
It's called a letdown. They're playing against lesser opponent. They know
there's
that
a
Jacksonville's
letdown
no
and
good.
there's a 6-9.
Well, you never know how
score.
this stuff
I mean,
affects you. So, and you know it's happening.
And
the players know it's happening. They're talking to each other about it. They're trying to pump each other up, and it just doesn't work. Letdown is a letdown. It was a bad week for them. So
but I don't understand how Buffalo goes in the locker room halftime and they're tied 6-6 and doesn't like
score in the second half.
Yeah, it doesn't
I didn't
like
get a chance to watch
develop anything to change this. I don't understand that. That's what I don't understand. I can understand they come out flat, but then you come out in the second half and you at least score. I mean, that's all they had to do was score once. So,
yeah, well, I mean,
I don't know.
We've seen a lot of Josh Allen this year, and he's looked like an MVP candidate. I don't know what happened down in Jacksonville. He clearly had an issue, and you worry about that carrying over to this game against the Jets, especially when you got Mike Wilson.
Here's the other question.
Back off the bench for the starting lineup in this game. Seems like he apparently can grip the football now and is going to play.
Well, here's the other question. How much did you know how they lost to Tennessee where they decided to go for it on that fourth down and they didn't get it? Like how much did that carry over into this game? Like through the bye week? Like
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Absolutely. You would have think that they would have had like 2 weeks to kind of prepare for that game, but it could have been a long 2 weeks. We could have been very disappointed.
So,
Listen, let's be clear. In Buffalo, there's only one mindset, and that's to win the championship. So, hopefully this is a learning experience that they can bounce back. But that's the key to a champion is that you can bounce back from a defeat and not have it impact your play on the field the next week after you lose.
Well, and that's what they did when they lost week 1 to the Steelers.
It makes you worry.
So...
Yeah, but they came back to Miami and beat them 35-0 or whatever. The score was 35-38-0.
Right.
So that's what you want to see. Right. It's a little scary.
Do they do that this week?
Well, I think regardless, they're in for a tough battle against a division rival, New York Jets, who have been showing life.
Division rival too.
Yeah, but the Jets have been showing life.
Yeah.
And they're looking good. Even last week against Indianapolis, when Mike White came out, it probably would have been a different game. I mean, they fought their way back into almost a cover on that game against Indianapolis if it wasn't for the interception late inside the 2-minute warning down around the 6-yard line. So, and that was the backup. So with Mike Wilson, what is it? Mike Wilson?
Mike White.
White?
Zach Wilson, Mike White.
Zach Wilson, Mike White. I keep getting them mixed up. But Zach Wilson came back to practice, but he's been designated to the practice squad. He's just, they're trying to ease him back in. So he's already been ruled out for this game.
Well, are they trying to ease him back in or they don't even want him back in at this point?
I don't know. I'm
disappointed. We didn't get to see Mike White last time because he left the game in the first quarter. So he
drove him right down the field too when he started. It was a shame to see him get hurt, but
I mean, the Bills is going to be a hell of a defense for him to face, I guess. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
Now, it just seems like a lot of points, right?
It is a lot of points.
Of like what Buffalo's coming off, and I know it's week to week, and they could come in here and they could just smoke the Jets because Buffalo is a much better team, and you would think that any concern they had after beating Tennessee, right, and then the fallout last week against Jacksonville, that they would be back on the horse next week. And that's exactly what the expectation is with a 12-point line. I don't buy it. It could be a 10-point game. I just think it's inside 12, 13, whatever it's going off here. I'm taking the Jets.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch it. I mean, I think the Bills win. They could very well win by 12.5, but I'm not going to. I got to see it from them before I touch them again.
Yeah, I'm not ready to anoint, Mike White the next Joe Montana, but he looked like he has some talent. So I'm sure the bubble will burst at some point with him, whether it's him back to the bench with Zach Wilson coming back in or just having a really bad game. And this very well could be it because Buffalo has a strong defense. Jacksonville, after all, only scored 9 points last week. So we'll have to see what happens here, but I think the Jets played inside 2 touchdowns.
All right. So next game up is the New Orleans Saints at Tennessee. It opened at -2.5 in favor of Tennessee. It's at -3. So we have Trevor Siemian will be the quarterback for the Saints again, and no Alvin Kamara. So that's big. But from what I've heard, like on the radio and the TV and different sources, it seems like everybody is on the Saints in this game. And I don't understand that at all. You have the Saints with their third string quarterback without their best player. You got the Tennessee Titans who've won 5 games in a row. They've won against 3 very good teams, and they're still getting absolutely no respect. So the fact that everybody else seems to be on the Saints, I like, because I'm going to be on the Titans. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I like Tennessee. I mean, I think the key for Tennessee is you just got to make sure one of the 2 big receivers is in the lineup.
Yeah.
If both of them are out, then load up against them, because they got whipped by the Jets when that happened in overtime. But whipped is a bad word, but
I mean, they're obviously without Derrick Henry, but the Saints have a pretty good run defense, so I don't think he would be the path to victory in this game anyway. Like you said, the Saints have Marshawn Lattimore, who has had success when he's gone up against Julio in the past, which he's faced him a lot because they were in the same division. I think he's only faced A.J. Brown once. He held him to 1 catch. So they're going to be able to cover one of those guys. So they definitely need both of those guys on the field, I think, to have a chance.
I think if they stick to the clear rotation here that's set with McNichols and Peterson, and there's a third guy involved too, right?
Yeah, that Foreman.
Yeah, so you got 3 guys who you can be like the 3-headed monster and try to, best as possible, replicate what they're losing in Henry being out for the rest of the season. So it definitely just seems like the key is if they can have one threat between the 2 big gun receivers that they have, which, of course, if both of them play, then it's almost guaranteed victory for Tennessee the way they've looked. So I know A.J. Brown is playing this week, but Julio Jones is question mark. He came off the injury report, I believe, Wednesday and back on it on Thursday with a calf.
Calf?
I think it's a calf. It's a hamstring.
Oh, it's been his hamstring.
Yeah,
he's been on the injury report every week with his damn hamstring. Put him out there as a decoy at least.
Not a calf, a hamstring.
Better be a hamstring.
Jesus.
I don't know. All these guys with the damn hamstring, I don't quite understand it. But
I know, right?
Anyway, all right.
I like Tennessee.
I like Tennessee too. So don't disappoint me. All right. Next game up is Tampa Bay at Washington. Both these teams coming off a bye. Tampa Bay will be without Gronk, NAB again, and Godwin now, I believe, is a game time decision. So they're obviously, Tampa's hurting for some weapons there. Washington had some guys that were banged up. I don't think Antonio Gibson is 100%. He's got something with a shin or something. So I don't know how much healthier they got during the bye week. But to me, I think Washington before the bye week seemed to just struggle to score points. They were put up 13 points, 10 points, 10 points in the last 3 games before the bye week. Brady, right before the bye week, lost to the Saints on an interception at the end of the game. So I definitely think he's got that in his head while he was on the bye week. So I do think they can find a way. They still have Mike Evans. They have Tyler Johnson. Will have to step into the second receiver spot, especially if Godwin doesn't play. But they have Fournette, who can catch some passes, and Giovanni Bernard. So I think they can still get it done. It opened at -7.5 in favor of Tampa. It's up to -9.5. And I still think I got to take Tampa here.
I like Washington. I think Tampa struggles, especially when Antonio Brown's out, but with the rest of the question marks around the receiving core, even though they're coming off the bye, I like Washington here. I think they keep it close. They're playing at home. Line started 7.5. The lines probably should be like 6.5. It's opened at 7.5, and the public's betting it up to 9.5. So, I was flashing at 10 at one spot in Vegas. I expect it to be up at 10 by kickoff. I'll take double digits. I think it'll be a similar outcome to, the playoff game that was in Washington last year, where Tampa's going to be flirting with maybe a 10, 13-point lead, and the end result is probably around 7-8 points.
Okay.
6.
All right, so
Maybe
we differ.
5.
We differ on that one.
Would you like some action here, Tampa, Tom?
Oh
I'll
God!
take Washington. The Washington football team.
All
Let's
right,
do it.
9.5.
All right. 9, not 10. Whoa. Okay.
9.5. That's what I got on my paper right there.
Okay. I think you've been giving me beneficial lines like in my favor on some of these. So
I was going to ask you for 7.
the way I'm talking, absolutely. 9.5. 9.5 is the number.
All right, that's a bet.
You got it in Friday night. So you're lucky because if you would have made that bet with me on Sunday, I'd be getting at least 10.
All right. So next game up is Detroit Lions at Pittsburgh. It opened at -10 in favor of Pittsburgh. It's down to -8 in favor of Pittsburgh. And this is another game where like everything that I've heard on the radio, TV, etc., everybody's on the Lions. And that scares me because I was set to take the Lions. I'm a sucker for punishment. But when everybody's on the 0-8 team, that scares the crap out of me. And 2 weeks ago when the Lions played the Eagles, everybody was on the Lions. And we all know what happened in that game. The Steelers haven't exactly been lighting it up on offense. And they do have a tendency to play down to lesser competition. The Detroit defense is not good. Pittsburgh's defense is good. Pittsburgh can get pressure on the quarterback. Jared Goff is not good under pressure. Detroit's coming off the bye. Pittsburgh is coming off a short week. So, I mean, there's favors that kind of points that favor each side. I really do kind of want to take Detroit, but I'm just afraid to do so. So I'm just going to lay off this game altogether. What are your thoughts?
I think Pittsburgh rolls them. I think Detroit cannot stop the run. The Eagles proved that. I think the Pittsburgh can play a similar game to what the Eagles do. They're going to run the ball with Najee Harris straight up the middle. And it's going to be a long day for Detroit in Pittsburgh. I don't think the line matters in this game.
All right. I mean, I'm not going to pick it, but I still lean Detroit.
You want to go back-to-back on this one? I'll take Pittsburgh.
I can't. I just can't. Like I said, I was all set to take them. But when everybody's on the 0-8 team, that just screams trouble.
What if I give you 9?
No. I don't want
What if I give you 10?
Nope. Not going to do it.
That's strong.
Although I do it to make up some losses. So you know what? F it.
10?
9.5.
All right. Thank you. 9.5.
All right.
9.5. Are you an attorney?
I know. I screwed myself there, didn't I?
You did. Just give me back a half a point. I'll take it.
All right. Whatever. All right. So next game up is Minnesota at the Chargers. So this game I think could be a good game. It's probably going to be, to me, a bit of a shootout. I've been waiting for Kirk Cousins to put up the clunker. It hasn't happened yet. He's actually playing well. Most of the losses that the Vikings, they're like the bad news Bears. They lose every game by like a couple points on like a field goal or whatever. So most of their losses have actually been 3-point losses. The Chargers have a really bad run defense. And obviously the Vikings have Dalvin Cook. So it could be a good day for him, assuming he's playing, which I guess he is. Vikings have a bad secondary. So I think it definitely could be a shootout. It's probably going to be a 3-point game. The only thing I worry about is the Vikings traveling to the West Coast. But otherwise, I think...
You know, Minnesota's in the middle of the country.
Well, whatever. They're still traveling.
Not as impactful as like an East Coast team. Just saying.
Okay. They're still traveling west or east.
You're pretty much going
west,
east or west.
West.
Anywhere
They're traveling west. Okay.
All right. Anyway. So what are you thinking?
I think the Chargers win.
You're all over the place on this game.
How am I all over the place?
Ah.
I think the Chargers win, but I think it's going to be a close game. So I kind of think you got to take the points and take the Vikings. I'm kind of over my hatred for Kirk Cousins, so he better not let me down this week.
This smells like a fishy game to me. It's almost because it seems like everybody's going to jump on the Chargers. Like everybody wants to like the Chargers. Everybody likes this Abear guy, Herbert.
Jesus Christ.
I just think that this is one of those games where Minnesota kind of shocks you. They win by like 6. I like Minnesota too.
I don't know if I see them like blowing them out.
No, not 6 isn't a blowout. But I think they're going to control this game. I mean, with Dalvin Cook, I think they can run on San Diego. Everybody's running on San Diego, and Dalvin Cook's one of the best.
Ain't nobody running on San Diego.
Yeah, okay.
Nobody's running on San Diego.
Yeah, they are.
They're running on the LA Chargers.
Oh, or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. The Los Angeles Chargers, it's like it's like Route 66 and Lightning McQueen going right across the country. And Dalvin Cook is going to be Lightning McQueen this week. Excuse my kid references.
Yeah, so I kind of think I lean towards taking the Vikings, and I almost just want to. I think you could tease down either side of this game and win.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game, but I wouldn't tease this because I think Minnesota wins the game. Actually,
okay, all right. So
if you win the game, then you're probably going to win the game by could be outside the tease. Now you got to keep it with inside 3. I wouldn't tease this game unless you're going to take Minnesota.
But I think either way, then if you tease it, you win. So all right, regardless, we're both on the Vikings there. Next game,
tease it, take it straight up. Whatever you do, take Minnesota.
Next game is Carolina at Arizona. So I don't know what happened to Darnold. Is he hurt?
Yeah, well, he was. They were talking about P.J. Walker starting this week.
P.J. Walker's starting, and then they signed Cam Newton.
What?
Huh?
They signed Cam Newton?
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh.
I'm not.
Huh?
I'm not. Carolina signed Cam Newton?
Yes, where have you been? Living under a rock?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah. So.
Oh, my God.
Breaking news.
Can't believe my Carolina buddy never said anything.
Huh, how about that?
I don't think he wants to bring up Cam Newton after the last time we talked about him.
Why?
It didn't go well.
Yeah, so I think he was at practice today, so he is going to be, I guess, the backup for this game. So I don't know what this means for Sam Darnold in the long term in Carolina. Like, is he are they like done? Like, is the Sam Darnold experiment over?
I don't think you can call it over.
Well, I mean, they signed
the door for Cam Newton.
They signed Cam Newton to like the salary that they're paying him is not like a backup salary.
Okay, so he's on injured reserve.
He's on injured reserve. I think it's a shoulder. I don't know.
He's legitimately hurt.
Yeah, I don't know when this happened though either.
A fracture of the scapula in his throwing shoulder. That sounds bad. All right, so they have PJ Walker and nobody, so they're desperate.
They're going to be without him for at least 3 weeks.
Ah, boy, there goes my season-long bet for over 23 touchdowns.
All right, so, okay, we have PJ Walker starting, Cam Newton backing up. Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are both going to be game-time decisions again this week. Obviously, we saw Arizona play... was it San Francisco last week, and they didn't miss a beat with their backup quarterback. So I don't know. The line is minus 10.5. It's a big line, a lot of question marks and unknowns here. So I'm not going to touch this game. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, it's tough because if you don't know if the quarterback's going to play for Arizona.
Well, I almost feel like whether he has a sprained ankle. So whether he plays or if he plays, he's not going to be 100%. So that would worry me anyway. Carolina has a fairly good defense. And do you almost think that like Carolina's defense was playing very well early on? They've kind of slumped a little bit in the last few weeks. Obviously, they've had Darnold in there kind of not really carrying the offense very well. So this might almost be like a rally from the defense. Maybe now thinking they have a chance that they got Sam Darnold out of there.
Well, regardless of Darnold, I mean, the focus needs to be on Christian McCaffrey. You know, he's getting back after, what was his first week last week, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that he was going to just kind of be, he's sparingly used. I believe he had at least 14 carries. And from a percentage of touching the ball compared to the other running backs, it was clearly McCaffrey's backfield.
McCaffrey, there's no
So
T.
McCaffrey, well, there's no T in team. There's also no T in McCaffrey. So McCaffrey will basically be on his own to shine, and I think it'll make whatever quarterback's back there look a lot better because that offense should run when the defense has to focus more on that running back position. Because one thing we didn't see, whether it was Darnold not being able to deliver the ball or just the lack of attention out of the backfield that the defense was placing on the game plan, these receivers have not really stepped up at all. DJ Moore really hasn't been that productive. So I think everything will start to open up with Christian McCaffrey, even if you have Walker back there, or if he struggles, this could be a dynamite story that, I'll admit it would be a great story if Cam could come back and take over the starting job for Carolina and lead these guys into the playoffs. We'll see what happens, but regardless who's behind center, they have a huge weapon in McCaffrey. He's tough to stop. So there's big question marks here with Arizona. It's too much for me to make a pick, but I really would consider taking Carolina just because there's so many points.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Arizona just always seems to find a way to win. So,
I mean, who is it? Colt McCoy, if it's not.
Yeah, but I'm sure
that's what everybody was saying that last week. Yeah, and look what happened.
So, and I don't know how much that
2
was.
weeks in a row. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't have any of the old film on Colt McCoy, but now there's new film.
Well, they ran. What was it? James Conner had like 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I think it was more like just a poor performance from San Francisco, but yeah. So I don't know. It's a lot of points with a lot of question marks. So I'm not going to touch that game.
And San Fran stinks.
Well, we'll get there. All right. Seattle. Next game, Seattle at Green Bay. We have a lot of question marks in this one too. They open at -5 in favor of Green Bay. It's down to -3.5. So obviously, Russell Wilson will be back this week. A little bit sooner, I think, than predicted. So I'm not sure his finger is 100%. And I guess we'll find out tomorrow whether Aaron Rodgers will be the quarterback for Green Bay. So a lot of question marks in this one. I really wouldn't want to touch it right now. If it is Aaron Rodgers, I think you kind of got to lean his direction with the pissed off Rodgers narrative. We won't get into all of that, but I prefer it kind of closer to 3, but we'll see where it goes. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
I mean, it's just tough because is Russell Wilson going to come back and be the dynamic Russell Wilson that he typically is? I don't know. It's going to be tough for him coming back after this long layoff. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, then that's a completely different game. They only scored 7 points last week against Kansas City, who's been basically a sieve on defense. So I know they're trying to pump up this Love kid and saying that he looked really good, but for all
who said he looked
purposes,
really good?
The coach at interviews after the game, they were liking the development and how he progressed. But really, I mean, he had one drive at the end of the game that got him on the board, so it was a good opportunity to say, "Yeah, he progressed at the end of the game." Yeah, I don't really trust it.
I don't know. I almost feel like being Aaron Rodgers backup doesn't get you very far.
Well, let's just put it this way: if there's been any kind of like curtailing of the rules around any of the sickness, then they're going to be paying a lot of attention to those right now. So I would, maybe not expect Aaron Rodgers to play this game. We'll see what happens, but he might not be ruled eligible to play.
Yeah,
Seattle,
we'll know that tomorrow.
I think you got to look at taking the points here if it's over 3 points, which right now we're seeing it's still as high as 3.5 in most places.
All right. So do you have a pick on this game or no?
I take Seattle on the points with Russell Wilson coming back.
All right. Even if it is Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, even if it is Aaron Rodgers, especially if it's 3.5, I could see it being a 3-point game.
Okay. Well, I will say, I think the Seahawks have to win. Their record is 3-5 at this point. So,
that's probably why he's rushing back in, make sure that they don't lose the season. It's 3-5. I doubt that they're going to catch the Rams or the Cardinals.
They might.
Less a devastating injury to one of those squads, but they'll have a shot at the wild card. I think
it's kind of an outside shot even at this point.
No, the wild card's still out there for these teams because you have only one contender in the East, really one in the North that has an above 500 record. So you're looking at 5-3 when you get outside of the Rams, who's a second place team in their own division. The Rams are 7-2, so they're not going to be caught, you would think, right? But then the next best record is 5-3. So you're 3-5 versus 5-3. You're less than halfway through the season, right? If you're only 8 games played, you're Seattle. You still have 9 games left. It's all within reach. Nobody's out of this.
Well, nobody's out of it, but I mean, they're fighting an uphill battle.
Hey, watch what happens if either the Eagles or the Giants win this week and they go to 4-6.
Oh God!
I mean, you think they're dead in the water, but the media will portray that they have a shot at the playoffs. We'll see what happens. Should be interesting. This is going to be a great week.
Somebody else thinks they have a shot at the playoff.
Not me.
All right, so segue into the next game
I should say if the Giants win.
Well, the Giants aren't doing anything this week.
Yeah, they got to buy, so they won't lose.
All right, next game is the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Denver to take on the Broncos. The line opened and is at -1.5 in favor of Denver. I don't know what to make of the Broncos because I was on the Broncos early and then I kind of gave up on them. And then last week they come out and
it's Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, so here's
he got hurt. They sucked. They lost 4 games in a row. Now he's back. He's ready to go. He's going to smoke them.
Well, I do feel like this is a good matchup for him because Philadelphia's defense has been pretty bad. They don't really get any pressure on the quarterback, and they'll kind of give you the underneath stuff, and that's like Bridgewater's MO, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he'll dink and
Judy's
dunk
another
it
week healthier
all the way down the field. I always worry about teams traveling to Mile High, and I feel like this could be probably the best defense that what's his name, Jalen Hurts, is going to face so far this year.
The quarterback of the Eagles, absolutely.
So, I mean, I lean Denver.
It has no Von Miller, remember? So are they really the best defense?
I almost wonder whether like getting him out of there was like maybe he was somewhat of like a, misfit in the locker room, like causing issues that way. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, because
they played their best game last week when he was gone. So I lean Denver. I don't feel good about it. What are your thoughts?
I lean Denver. I don't feel good about it because of my allegiances to the Eagles. But when it comes to picking this game, I love Denver. If this game isn't 3 by kickoff, I'd be surprised. I would load up on Denver here.
Okay.
I don't like Philly traveling, like you said, Mile High. I think with this team, this defense gets down. On the second half, it could get out of control from a standpoint of guys tapping out and going to the sideline. You can see a lot of backups in the defense towards the latter end of this game, and it's just getting out of control. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I like the way he's coming back healthier. Huge win last week against Dallas. I think they continue that.
Was this a letdown for them?
No, there's no letdown. It's in their division or it's in their conference, so there's no letdown from beating Dallas. I think they're going to come in here expecting to win, and I'd be surprised if Philly puts up a battle for more than a quarter and a half here.
All right. Next game up is Kansas City at Las Vegas. This is the Sunday night game. Open at -3 in favor of Kansas City. It's at -2.5. So obviously the Chiefs have been struggling this season overall. The last 2 weeks, they've struggled to beat the Giants and the Aaron Rodgers-less Packers. And all the teams in this division have 5 wins. And this is obviously a division game. The last 2 meetings between these teams last year were shootouts. They split, but they were high scoring, like into the 60-point range. So obviously the Chiefs haven't been playing this year like they played last year. The Raiders have been playing a lot better this year. And obviously they lost Henry Ruggs. I don't think that made much of a difference, but they did pick up Deshaun Jackson. So, I mean, I think he more than fills the role that was left empty by Ruggs. So I like the Raiders. I like the Raiders a lot. What are your thoughts? I
like Kansas City. I think the Raiders are reeling. I'd be surprised if how many more games they win in this season. I think they only got a couple more left. I'd be really surprised if they regain momentum and look like the team they did in the beginning of the season. I worry about some of the in the locker room stuff that, some of the turmoil that they've gone through. We don't want to go into too much of the Ruggs situation, but, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be very emotional. He's basically going to be taken away from the whole team. So as a popular guy on the roster, I just think that Kansas City gets back on the horse here. It's scary going away to Las Vegas and their favorite. But the line is coming down.
Well, I guess that's the other question. Does Kansas City really even deserve to be a 3-point favorite on the road against a team that has the same record as them?
No, but I just think that Kansas City is going to get back on the horse eventually here and start firing. I fully expect it. Who knows if it's going to happen? This would be a good spot for them to get their act together. I think it is a good spot on the schedule for them. And given the way Vegas looked last week against the Giants, which shouldn't be too concerning because it was an away game against a team that's not even in their conference. So it's a good game to lose if you're going to lose one. But I think this is going to be tough. We're going to see about Las Vegas this week. They should put a good game up against Kansas City, but I expect them to have problems. And I think Kansas City is going to look better this week than they have over the last month. I'm willing to make this another one. So how about 2.5? I'm seeing 2.5.
I want 3.
I'll give you 3.
All right, fine.
Just remember this is twice. I'm giving you the favor. Well, you gave me one back.
What?
On the 9.5 to 10.
Okay.
On the Dallas-Atlanta game, I think it was. The Dallas-Atlanta?
No.
Or Pittsburgh-Detroit?
You can't even remember what games you bet.
Pittsburgh-Detroit.
Yes. All right. So last game up is the LA Rams at San Francisco 49ers. Open at -3 in favor of the Rams. It's up to -3.5. So this is obviously a division game. Interestingly enough, the Shanahan-led 49ers have won all 4 matchups against the Sean McVay Rams. So I know San Francisco didn't look very good last week. I feel like the Rams are a little overrated. Like, they have all the big names, but have they really gone out there and played this like awesome game? Like at all this year? I mean, they beat up on some bad teams. They had the one win over the Bucs, but other than that, like I haven't.
Can I tell you who it feels like before you get too, on your soapbox about the Rams and how overrated they are? You know who they feel like right now? They feel like last year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like Tom didn't really. He was first year.
He was brand new with the team.
Regardless, what was Matt Stafford?
He's brand new with the team.
Oh, and we're spending a lot of money bringing a lot of free agents in, right? And it's true. They don't really look like the Super Bowl contender right now. I mean, they've had some good games. They have a great record, but they lost to the Titans last week and didn't look good at doing it. You're bringing in Odell Beckham, right? Who hopefully can bring a little bit of juice to the locker room, and they can get him in eventually when he gets more comfortable with the offense. But this has a good feel where, from an aspect, let's not get too far into the details of where they're trying to put it together. They are best football. The best way I can put it is you feel like their best football is in front of them. And the question is, can they gel before the end of the regular season to make that run into the playoffs? Or are we going to have to wait for another year of training camp for Stafford to really get the full handle of the offense from McVay?
Well, but
isn't that really the question?
Or are they even going to have this team next year? I mean, you can't bring all these players in.
Forget about next year. We're not trying to solve.
This is the year.
We don't care about that answer.
That's exactly
about this year.
Yeah, that's exactly the approach that they're taking.
If they're going to start gelling and start winning games, you're going to really want to look to play them and play action on them when you see that development. Because Tampa went on that run from November, maybe December. It wasn't even really in November until December, where they started blowing teams out, and they won
I understand
a lot of money.
what you're saying, but I guess here's my point is I don't feel like Sean McVay is going into these games with a great game plan in place to beat the opponent that he's facing. I feel like he thinks he's got this talented roster and he's this brilliant coach, and he's just going to go out there and it's going to happen. So that's That's my point.
Yeah, I guess some of it's still him feeling out Stafford. I mean, let's remember, they're less than 10 games together as coach and quarterback and trying to figure out the offense and trying to figure out what really works well. Because Stafford's a better roller out. He's better on the move passer than Jared Goff was. So he can design the plays a little differently. He's got a better arm too.
You take last week's game. Like, you have the Titans, who don't have a spectacular defense, but they went out there and they did what they had to do to win that game. And I just feel like that's what the Rams aren't doing.
All right, so let me ask you this from your aspect. Let's just say I'm jumping on the side of trying to make a point for you, because I don't know. I struggle with whether I'm too big of a Deshaun Jackson fan, obviously, with him playing for the Eagles. Well, and that
was what I was going to say a minute ago, is I don't know that Odell Beckham is much different than Deshaun Jackson.
Well, no, let me just finish for a second.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is along those lines, I'm not really feeling like he's hit his stride in coaching this team. Like, I'm disappointed that Deshaun Jackson had to leave the team, that he wasn't more involved, that they got him involved like the second week, where he had 3 receptions for like 120 yards and a touchdown. And McVay said after the game, like, he had a good game. We want to get him the ball more. He didn't get him the ball the next game, and then he even called himself out for not getting him more involved. So then Deshaun says, hey, coach, you've said it a couple of times. Like, I just feel like Deshaun could have been used in this offense in the point where it could have looked brilliant, with Cooper Kupp kind of owning the intermediate routes, the smaller routes, and Deshaun running and breaking off touchdowns on the deep posts. And they had that opportunity. I feel like McVay, to your point, is not hitting his stride, because if he was, we would have seen Deshaun Jackson should have never been cut. And so I question, well, you bring in, I'm with you. I see where you're going. I wanted to just make that point first.
Okay.
I think where you're going is, well, now you're doing the same thing. You're bringing Odell Beckham Jr. in here, who's going to, he's going to be worse than Deshaun saying, give me the ball, right?
Right.
So then what happens? Does that knock? You got to look at Robert Woods is going to take, people are talking about Cooper Kupp really kind of taking a hit, and maybe a little bit, but he's still going to get his 7 to 11 targets during the game. What's Robert Woods going to do? I don't understand why Robert Woods hasn't been more a part of this offense. So again, it's part of, I was saying the same questions, and you were too last year about Antonio Brown. Why isn't Tampa getting him involved more in the offense? And look what happened when they did at the end of the season, right? It looked like Tom Brady had absolutely zero chemistry with Mike Evans. Not that he has the best chemistry now with him, right? But they were struggling to find their rhythm as an offense. And I'm not willing to give up on the Rams. I agree with everything you're saying, and I'm a little frustrated because I pick them to go to the Super Bowl. But we'll see what happens. I expect them to kind of pick it up, and it could be this game. And I do like them to kind of put it together against the San Francisco 49ers, because I know McVay does realize the stat that you said when we first started talking about this game, that they were 0-4 in the last 4 games. Yeah. And, it's a division game. He wants to kind of set a precedent against this team. I expect him to start this week. I like the Rams.
All right. As much as I don't like it, I got to go 49ers here.
You want to make another one?
I'm going to keep track of all these bets.
This one, I want 3. Let's make it 3.
No, I want 3.5.
Okay, 3.5.
I really don't want to make this bet, but okay.
Well, okay.
Right. I got to make up some ground here.
Yeah, well, I think last week you were like, I'm not betting any of them.
Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. Last week I bet you and I lost.
Yeah, well, I got a feeling you might be better this week, so we'll see.
Well, God hope so. But that was 4 bets. I'll have to keep track of that.
Best you can hope for is a push.
All right. So, best bets of the week.
Listen, best bets is going to be tough. I'm going to run down the list of my games that, just coming back here. Go back and listen to the whole podcast. I've been giving you games for just picking winners.
All right, so do you not want to do the best bets at the end?
No, I will. I'm just going to say these are the ones that I'm calling out as I like the side of Indy. I like Atlanta. I like the Jets. I like Tennessee. I like Washington. I like Pittsburgh. I like Minnesota. I like Denver. I like Kansas City, and I like the Rams. The games I probably like the most is I like Philly to take the L on the road to Denver. I really like Indy against Jacksonville. I do like the Jets. I think they're going to play it tight as long as Mike White, finishes the game. I like Tennessee a lot. I think those are probably my best ones. I like Minnesota. We talk about Minnesota. I have to watch Minnesota win that game straight up.
All right. So I like Tennessee, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Denver, Vegas, San Fran, Vikings.
You got any fantasy like action? Like anybody?
Well, I will
that you
say
would
I
really-
do love the schedule this week for like FanDuel, because I think there's a lot of good matchups. The Chargers Vikings game, the Atlanta Dallas game, and there's a lot of like injuries, missing players that give value on some of the plays. So I think you can get a good lineup in. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think watch out for Adrian Peterson this week.
I'm not worried about Adrian Peterson. It is two yards per carry. But
John Connor. I like Christian McCaffrey.
It's
I think the
James
James Conner.
Conner.
I think you take both running backs in that game.
Yeah. So, all right. That'll do it for us for week 10. Peace out.